Hola, si quieres ver contenido exclusivo con chicas atractivas que no están en YouTube, por ejemplo cuando Naruto se burla de vulgar Kushina, Mikoto o Tsunet, y muchas otras chicas sin restricciones. Ve a mi canal en post y suscríbete usando el enlace en la descripción.
New category of village relationships, acknowledging that chakra bonds can coexist with normal social structures. It's progress, Tsunade said. And it gives Naruto the freedom to live normally while ensuring the bonds are managed responsibly. There's one thing we haven't addressed, Mei spoke up. The proposal for deliberate bonds. Now that the framework is established, I'd like to formally request consideration for a deliberate bond with Naruto. The committee, which had just been formed and consisted of Tsunade, Inoichi, Shikaku, Hiashi, and Kurenai, exchanged glances. We need to establish procedures first, Tsunade said. This is literally the first request under the new framework. Then establish them now, Mei said. I've been patient. I've respected Naruto's need for time. But I've also been living with a partial bond that's affecting my ability to focus on my duties as Mizukage. I need resolution, either complete the bond or help me suppress it. You could just leave the village, Hamura pointed out. Distance weakens bonds. Distance doesn't weaken existing bonds, just prevents new ones from forming, Mei corrected. I've researched this extensively. Once a bond begins, proximity doesn't matter, emotional connection does. And I can't stop thinking about Naruto even when I'm in Kurigakure. Naruto felt put on the spot. I don't know if I'm ready for a deliberate bond. Then let's evaluate readiness, Inoichi suggested. That should be part of the procedure anyway. Both parties undergo psychological evaluation to ensure they're making informed decisions. I'll agree to that, Mei said immediately. So will I, Naruto said, though his stomach churned with nervousness. Over the next 2 days, both Naruto and Mei underwent extensive psychological evaluation. Inoichi conducted the sessions, using a combination of interview techniques and his clan's mind-reading abilities to assess their true motivations and readiness. When the results were presented to the committee, Inoichi's report was thorough. Naruto shows significant anxiety about deliberate bonding, but no psychological barriers that would prevent it. His concerns are ethical rather than emotional. He worries about consent and manipulation, but those are reasonable concerns given his power. And Mei? Tsunade asked. Mei shows clear awareness of the risks and benefits. She's not being coerced by the partial bond. If anything, she's frustrated by its incompleteness. She wants resolution, and she's capable of consenting meaningfully despite the seal's influence. What's your professional recommendation? Shikaku asked. That we allow it, with conditions. The bond should be completed in a controlled environment with monitoring. Both parties should understand it's permanent and irreversible. And there should be a follow-up evaluation 1 month later to ensure Mei maintains her autonomy. The committee deliberated for another hour before calling Naruto and Mei back in. We've decided to approve the deliberate bond, Tsunade said, though Naruto could feel her jealousy through their connection. With conditions. The bonding will take place in a controlled setting with medical and security personnel present. Both of you will undergo post-bond evaluation. And Mei, you understand this creates political complications between our villages. I understand. And I welcome them. Mei looked at Naruto. A Mizukage bonded to Konoha's future Hokage creates an unprecedented alliance. That's a feature, not a bug. When? Naruto asked, feeling surreal about the whole situation. Tomorrow, Inoichi said. No point in dragging it out. You've both been evaluated, the committee has approved, and waiting just builds anxiety. Tomorrow, Naruto echoed, feeling the weight of that timeline. At night, he couldn't sleep. Instead, he found himself at the Hokage monument, looking out over the village. Through his bonds, he could feel multiple presences: Tsunade working late in her office, Kurenai preparing lessons at home, Amaya settling into sleep in her apartment. And Mei, awake in her hotel, her presence calm but anticipatory. You're nervous, Kurama observed. Of course I'm nervous. Tomorrow I'm deliberately bonding with someone for the first time. Creating a permanent connection because of political strategy and personal choice rather than accident. Is that what bothers you? That it's deliberate? Partially. It feels like I'm crossing a line. Accidents are one thing, but consciously choosing to bond someone make you responsible in a different way, Kurama finished. I understand. But Naruto, you need to accept that deliberate bonds are going to be part of your life. The framework you created allows for them. Several women are interested in them. You can't avoid this forever. I know. I just wish I felt more certain. Certainty is overrated. Do you trust Mei to handle the bond responsibly? Yes. Do you think the political alliance would benefit both villages? Probably. And do you actually like her? Beyond the seal, beyond politics, is she someone you'd want in your life? Naruto considered. Mei was intelligent, confident, witty. She challenged him intellectually in ways few others did. She didn't treat him like a child or a weapon, just as a person with complicated circumstances. Yeah, he admitted. I like her. Then what's the problem? I'm scared I'm going to hurt her. That the bond will take away something essential about who she is. Mito's bonded ones remained themselves, Kurama pointed out. Amaya is still Amaya. Tsunade is still Tsunade. The bond hasn't erased anyone's personality. Not yet. But what if it does over time? Then you deal with it. You monitor, you adjust, you do everything you can to preserve their autonomy. But Naruto, you can't let fear of possible harm prevent you from living. That's not life, that's just existing. The words hit home. Naruto had been existing rather than living, paralyzed by fear of his own power. But tomorrow, he had the chance to take a deliberate step forward. To choose a bond rather than have it thrust upon him by circumstance. It was terrifying. But it was also, in a strange way, empowering. Okay, he said quietly to the night air. Tomorrow, I will choose. The bonding ceremony, for lack of a better term, took place in a secured training room at the hospital. Medical equipment surrounded them, ready to monitor both Naruto and Mei's chakra during the process. Tsunade, Inoichi, and Shikaku observed, along with several Anbu guards. Mei stood across from Naruto, looking more nervous than he'd ever seen her. Ready? He asked. As I'll ever be. She managed a smile. This is bizarre, isn't it? Formalizing a chakra bond with witnesses and documentation. Welcome to my life. Nothing about the Crimson Seal is normal. Last chance to back out, Tsunade said, though Naruto felt through their bond that she was hoping Mei would reconsider. I'm not backing out, Mei said firmly. I've thought about this from every angle. I want this bond. Then let's begin, Inoichi said. Naruto, activate the seal. Mei, I'll need you to open your chakra network fully, don't resist the bond's formation. Naruto took a breath and called forth the Crimson Seal. Red chakra erupted around him, more controlled than ever before, thanks to weeks of training. His eyes shifted to that distinctive crimson pattern. Mei stepped closer, close enough to touch. Their existing partial bond hummed between them, waiting. "In my mark," Inoichi said, monitoring their chakra signatures. 3, 2, 1, proceed. Naruto reached out and took Mei's hands. The moment their skin made contact, the Crimson Seal surged. Unlike accidental bonds that formed chaotically, this one was deliberate, controlled. Naruto guided the chakra, shaping the connection consciously. He felt the partial bond they already shared begin to deepen. Felt Mei's emotions flooding in, nervousness, anticipation, genuine affection. But also her strength, her confidence, her unwavering sense of self. The bond snapped into place like a key turning in a lock. Suddenly, Naruto was aware of Mei in the same way he was aware of Tsunade or Kurama. She was there, always present, a warmth in his consciousness that would never fade. Through the new bond, he felt her gasp at the intensity. Her emotions overwhelmed her for a moment before her considerable mental discipline kicked in, helping her process the flood of sensation. It's done, Inoichi announced, checking his instruments. The bond is complete. Both parties are stable. Naruto and Mei stood there, hands still clasped, adjusting to the new connection. Through the bond, he felt her wonder, her relief, her satisfaction at finally having clarity. I can feel you, she breathed. Not just emotionally, but I know you're here. Even if I close my eyes, even if we're separated, I'll always know where you are. Same, Naruto said. Is it too much? It's perfect. Mei's smile was radiant. I feel more myself than I have in weeks. The uncertainty is gone. I know exactly what I'm feeling now, and I know it's real. How can you be sure? Because I'm still me. I still have my ambitions, my goals, my personality. The bond didn't erase anything, it just added you to my life in a fundamental way. She squeezed his hands. Thank you. For trusting me with this. Through their bond, Naruto felt the absolute truth of her words. She wasn't diminished by the bond. If anything, she seemed more complete. The medical checks confirmed what Naruto felt, both of them were healthy, their chakra signatures stable. The deliberate bond had formed cleanly, without any of the complications that sometimes arose from accidental bonding. That went remarkably well, Shikaku observed. Almost too well. Deliberate bonds are cleaner, Tsunade explained, though Naruto felt her complicated emotions through their own bond. When both parties go in prepared and willing, there's less chaos. This changes everything, Shikaku said. If we can form bonds deliberately with this level of control, the strategic possibilities are not to be exploited, Inoichi said firmly. The framework exists to manage the bonds, not weaponize them. Of course. But we'd be fools not to acknowledge the implications. Mei was given an hour to adjust to the bond before the follow-up interview. When it came time, she answered every question with clarity and confidence. Do you feel your judgment has been compromised? No. I'm still perfectly capable of assessing situations objectively. Do you feel compelled to obey Naruto or serve his interests over Karigaku's? I feel inclined to support him, yes. But I can distinguish between supporting him personally and serving him blindly. If Konoha and Kurigakure had conflicting interests, I'd still advocate for my village. I'd just work harder to find compromise. How would you describe the bond's effect on your decision making? It's like having a trusted advisor whose opinion I value deeply. The bond makes me consider Naruto's perspective, but it doesn't override my own judgment. The evaluators were satisfied. Mei was bonded but autonomous, connected but still herself. It was exactly what they'd hoped for. Later that evening, Naruto and Mei sat alone in a private room, both still processing the day's events. So, Mei said, we're bonded. Permanently. For the rest of our lives, you'll be able to feel my emotions, and I'll feel yours. Yeah. Any regrets? None. She looked at him seriously. Naruto, I know this is complicated for you. I know you have other bonds, other women are interested in you. But I want you to understand something. I didn't do this to claim you or compete with others. I did it because I genuinely wanted this connection. I know. I can feel it through the bond. Good. Because I don't want you feeling guilty about this. You gave me a choice, I made it, and I'm happy with the outcome. Through their bond, Naruto felt her sincerity. She really was content. What happens now? He asked. Between us. Now we figure out what kind of relationship we want to build on this foundation. The bond creates connection, but we decide what that connection means. Mei smiled. I'm returning to Kurigakure tomorrow. Distance won't change the bond, but it will give us both space to process this. Will you come back? Regularly. As a Mizukage, I have diplomatic reasons to visit Konoha. And now I have personal reasons too. She stood. But Naruto. Don't let anyone pressure you into more deliberate bonds just because this one went well. Take your time. Choose carefully. And remember that you're allowed to say no. Even to you. Especially to me. The bond doesn't entitle me to anything more than this connection we've already formed. Everything else has to be earned. After she left, Naruto sat alone with his thoughts. He now had 5 complete bonds: Tsunade, Kurenai, which had been completed fully at some point during the week, Kurama, Amaya, and now Mei. 5 women whose emotions he carried constantly, whose well-being he was responsible for. It should have felt overwhelming. And it did, sometimes. But it also felt right, like pieces of a puzzle falling into place. He was building something. Not a harem, not a collection of devoted followers. A family. A network of people connected by choice and chakra, navigating unprecedented territory together. It wouldn't be easy. There would be jealousy, complications, difficult decisions. But for the first time since the seal awakened, Naruto felt like he wasn't just surviving his power. He was learning to live with it. 3 weeks after Mei's deliberate bonding, Naruto was starting to understand what Mito had meant about the bonds being both blessing and curse. The 5 complete bonds he now maintained: Tsunade, Kurenai, Kurama, Amaya, and Mei created a constant background noise of emotions that never quite went away. It was 3 in the morning when he jolted awake, gasping. Through his bond with Mei, he'd felt a spike of fear followed by intense pain. She was under attack. He was dressed and moving before fully conscious, muscle memory taking over. He burst onto his apartment's balcony and reached out through the bond, trying to pinpoint her location. Kurigakure. She was still in her village, over 100 miles away. But the bond didn't care about distance. Her terror was as vivid as if she stood beside him. Naruto. Kurama's voice was urgent in his mind. Her chakra signature is spiking. Multiple hostiles. This isn't a training exercise. He needed to get to her, but teleportation wasn't his specialty. Think. Who could help? Who could? Tsunade. Through their bond, she was already awake, having felt his distress. She appeared on his balcony moments later, still in sleeping clothes but fully alert. Mei. Under attack. I need to get to Kurigakure. Now. I'll alert Anbu. There's no time. The bond pulsed with Mei's pain again, and Naruto nearly collapsed. She's being overwhelmed. I can feel it. Tsunade's jaw tightened. Through their bond, Naruto felt her making a choice that went against every protocol. The reverse summoning scroll. The one Jiraiya left you. Use it. That only works for toads. The toads have a contract with Kurigakure's intelligence division. Summon Gamakichi, have him reverse summon you there. She grabbed his shoulders. Go. Save her. I'll handle the political fallout. Naruto bit his thumb and slammed his hand down. Summoning jutsu. Gamakichi appeared in a puff of smoke, looking annoyed at being woken. This better be good, Naruto. I need you to reverse summon me to Kurigakure. Now. The Mizukage is in danger. The toad's demeanor changed instantly. Get on. The world twisted, and suddenly Naruto was in the Mizukage's office building in Kurigakure. Alarms blared. Bodies littered the hallway guards, all unconscious or worse. Following the bond, Naruto raced toward Mei's private chambers. He burst through the door to find carnage. 8 attackers in Anbu-style masks surrounded Mei, who was bloodied but still fighting. Her bodyguards were down. She'd taken out 3 attackers herself, but exhaustion was setting in. The crimson seal activated without conscious thought, flooding the room with red chakra. The attackers stumbled, their coordination faltering as the seal's corrupting influence hit them, amplifying their aggression into mindless rage that turned them against each other. Naruto didn't give them time to recover. Shadow clones engaged the disoriented attackers while he reached Mei, whose legs gave out the moment she saw him. "You came," she gasped, blood streaming from a cut on her forehead. "I felt you coming through the bond, but I couldn't believe." "Save your strength." Naruto caught her, and through their bond felt the extent of her injuries. Cracked ribs, internal bleeding, chakra exhaustion. She'd fought magnificently, but she'd been outnumbered and betrayed. These were her own ambu. The fight ended quickly. The attackers, unable to coordinate under the seal's influence, fell to Naruto's clones. Within 2 minutes, all 8 were subdued. Kurigaku's reinforcements arrived to find their Mizukage bleeding in the arms of a Konoha shinobi, surrounded by unconscious traitors. "Ow." Mei called out to her most trusted aide, a man with a Byakugan implant. "These 8, they were mind-controlled. Check them." Ao's Byakugan activated, scanning the fallen attackers. His face paled. "Mizukage-sama, there are seals on their brains. Master-level work. Whoever did this knew exactly how to bypass our security." "We have a traitor in the intelligence division," Mei said, wincing as she tried to stand. Naruto supported her weight. "Someone who could identify and compromise my personal guard." More guards flooded in, weapons trained on Naruto. Konoha shinobi. "Step away from the Mizukage." "Stand down," Mei commanded, her voice weak but authoritative. "He saved my life. And he's bonded to me. Some of you know what that means." The guards hesitated, looking to Ao for confirmation. "It's true," Ao said grudgingly. "The Mizukage underwent a chakra bond with this boy. The bond must have alerted him to her danger." He looked at Naruto with newfound respect. "You crossed 100 miles in minutes to defend her. That's unprecedented." "That's what the bond does," Naruto said. He could feel Mei's pain through their connection and feel her fighting to stay conscious. She needs medical attention. Now. The next hour was chaos. Medical ninja arrived to treat Mei, while Naruto was detained for questioning politely but firmly. He explained the bond, how he'd felt her distress, how Tsunade had helped him reach Kurigaku quickly. Ao conducted the interrogation personally, his Byakugan confirming Naruto was telling the truth. "This bond, it's more powerful than we realized. You felt her danger from Konoha. The bond doesn't care about distance. When someone I'm bonded to is in mortal danger, I feel it." Naruto looked toward the medical wing where Mei was being treated. Through the bond, he felt her stabilizing but still in pain. Is she going to be okay? Physically, yes. The wounds weren't as severe as they looked. Ao's expression darkened. But politically, this is a disaster. 8 of her personal guards turned against her. That kind of betrayal suggests the conspiracy goes deeper than we thought. Who would want her dead? Several factions. Mei has been pushing reforms that upset traditionalists. She's strengthened ties with Konoha, which bothers isolationists. And her bonding to you specifically outpaused. That created enemies. People who see the bond as Mei subordinate Kurigaku to Konoha's interests. That's not what the bond does. You know that. I know that. But to outsiders. A foreign shinobi has a chakra connection to our Mizukage. That looks like an influence. Possibly control. Naruto felt sick. He'd known there would be political complications, but attempted assassination. What happens now? Now we root out the conspiracy. And you, Naruto Uzumaki, stay in Kurigaku until we're certain Mei-sama is safe. Ao's visible eye was hard. Like it or not, you're part of this now. Your bond makes you Kurigaku's concern. They finally let Naruto see Mei in the early morning. She was bandaged but sitting up, reviewing reports despite her doctor's protests. "You should be resting," Naruto said from the doorway. "Can't. Assassination attempt means someone thought I was vulnerable." She looked up and despite her injuries, she smiled. "Thank you. For coming. For saving me. I felt you through the bond. I couldn't come." He moved closer. "Mei, this is my fault. They targeted you because of the bond, because of me." "No." Her voice was firm. "They targeted me because I'm making changes they don't like. The bond was just a convenient excuse." Through their connection, he felt her certainty. "Naruto, this would have happened eventually, bond or no bond. You just happened to give my enemies a narrative to work with. But. Stop. I chose this bond knowing there would be complications. I'm not going to regret it now just because those complications manifested faster than expected." She patted the bed beside her. "Sit. Tell me how you got here so quickly." Naruto explained about the reverse summoning, about Tsunade's quick thinking. Mei listened, her expression thoughtful. "So Tsunade helped you reach me despite the political risks. That's interesting. She knew you were in danger. Personal feelings aside, she wouldn't let you die." "Personal feelings," Mei repeated with a slight smile. "You mean her jealousy of our bond?" "Among other things. I don't want to be her rival, you know." The bond creates enough complications without adding romantic competition. Mei shifted, wincing. Has anyone explained to you yet that bonds between wielder and bond can take different forms? Mito mentioned it. Said some bonds were romantic, some platonic, some professional. Exactly. And ours. Mei was quiet for a moment. I have affection for you, Naruto. Deep affection. But I don't think I'm in love with you. I'm not sure the bond is pushing in that direction. Naruto felt relieved and confused. Then what is it? Partnership. Trust. The kind of connection you have with a brother in arms, but deeper because of the chakra bond. She looked at him seriously. I want you in my life, I want this bond to continue. But I'm not competing with Tsunade or Kurenai or anyone else for a romantic relationship. That's not what we are. Through the bond, Naruto felt the truth of her words. The affection was real, but it was different from what he felt with Tsunade. More like the bond with Kurama, intense connection without romantic undertones. Does it bother you? She asked. That I don't want romance? No. It's actually a relief. Naruto laughed. I've been so worried about managing romantic expectations from every bond that it didn't occur to me they could be non-romantic. Not all bonds are romantic, Mei confirmed. And that's okay. What we have is valuable without needing to add sex or romance to it. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the bond between them pulsing with understanding and mutual respect. You'll need to stay in Kurigakure for a few days, Mei said eventually. Until we identify the conspiracy's extent. Is that going to be a problem? Tsunade will handle it. But Mei, keeping me here as your bodyguard is going to feed the narrative that you're under Konoha's influence. Let them think what they want. I'm alive because of the bond, because you felt my danger and responded. That's a feature of the bond, not a vulnerability. Her expression hardened. And anyone who thinks the bond makes me weak is going to learn otherwise. 3 days in Kurigakure revealed a conspiracy that ran deeper than anyone suspected. Ao's investigation uncovered 5 high-ranking officials who'd been working with an external party, someone who wanted Mei dead and was willing to pay handsomely for it. Naruto assisted in the investigation, his ability to sense emotions through the Crimson Seal, proving useful in identifying liars. Several times, suspects were brought before him, and the seal's influence would amplify their guilt or fear enough to break their composure. This is remarkably effective, Ao admitted after one particularly productive interrogation. The seal doesn't force confessions, but it makes lying almost impossible. It's also ethically questionable, Naruto pointed out. Using the seal in interrogations wasn't what the framework intended. True. But desperate times call for creative solutions. Ao looked at the list of compromised officials. We've identified the conspiracy, but not the external backer. Someone with resources and motive to destabilize Kurigakure. On the 4th day, the answer came from an unexpected source. Amaya, connected to Naruto through their bond, sent an urgent message through long-distance chakra communication, a technique she'd been teaching him. Naruto. I've been researching the attack on Mei. One of my old contacts recognized the technique used on her guards. It's a signature-style Ryaika of the Crimson Mist. The name meant nothing to Naruto, but Ao's reaction was immediate. Ryaika. She's supposed to be dead. We killed her 5 years ago during the purge of the old regime's loyalists. She's alive, Amaya confirmed. And she's been building a resistance movement. Former Kurigakure Anbu who opposed Mei's reforms, missing Nin who wanted to return to the old ways. She's the one who funded the assassination. How do you know this? Ao demanded. Because I worked with her 2 years ago on an unrelated job. I know her methods, her contacts, her hideouts. Through the bond, Naruto felt Amaya's conflict. She's dangerous, Ao. One of the best specialists I've ever encountered. If she's targeting Mei, this won't be her only attempt. The revelation changed everything. Mei's assassination attempt wasn't about the bond, it was about former regime loyalists trying to reclaim power. The bond was just a convenient cover story. We need to find her, Mei said when informed. She was still recovering but refused to stay bedridden. If Ryaika is leading a resistance movement, she's a threat to the entire village. I can track her, Amaya offered through the communication link. I know her patterns, where she'd hide. But I'd need to come to Kurigakure, and I'm restricted to Konoha under my probation terms. I'll authorize her temporary transfer. Tsunade's voice joined the communication. She'd been monitoring the situation from Konoha. Under Naruto's supervision. If Amaya can help end this threat, it's worth the risk. 12 hours later, Amaya arrived in Kurigakure via the same reverse summoning technique Naruto had used. She'd brought intelligence, maps, and a list of known associates. Ryaika operates out of the southern islands, she explained to the war council Mei had assembled. Remote locations with multiple escape routes. She's paranoid, brilliant, and absolutely committed to her cause. Which is? Ao asked. Returning Kurigakure to isolationist policies. No foreign entanglements, no reforms, no weakening of traditional power structures. Amaya's eyes met Mei's. Your bond to Naruto represents everything she hates: opening to foreign influence, modernization, change. Then she's going to be disappointed, Mei said coldly. Because I'm not changing course because of terrorist threats. The plan they developed was risky. Amaya would use her underworld contacts to arrange a meeting with Ryaika, claiming to be interested in the resistance movement. Naruto would accompany her, hidden under a transformation. When Ryaika revealed herself, they'd capture her and dismantle her organization. This is obviously a trap, Ao pointed out. Ryaika isn't stupid. She'll know Amaya's bond to Naruto now. Let her know, Amaya said. I'll claim the bond is why I'm turning against Konoha. Mei's influence through Naruto is corrupting me. It's plausible I'm a reformed missing nin with questionable loyalty. Can you sell that? Naruto asked through their bond. I spent years lying for a living. Trust me. The infiltration took 2 days to arrange. Amaya made contact through old channels, spinning a story about disillusionment with Konoha and interest in Ryaika's cause. The resistance leader was cautious, but intrigued. Having Amaya, a bonded individual, turn against her bondholder would be powerful propaganda. The meeting was set on a remote island, in a cavern network that provided both privacy and multiple escape routes. Naruto, transformed to look like a low-level missing nin, accompanied Amaya as her bodyguard. Ryaika was everything Amaya had described: sharp, paranoid, and radiating intensity. She was maybe 40, with dark hair streaked with gray and eyes that seemed to see too much. Amaya, she greeted me coolly. I heard you'd gone soft. Surrendered to Konoha like a common criminal. I made a strategic error, Amaya replied, her voice perfectly pitched between shame and defiance. The bond seemed manageable at first. But it's not. It's invasive. Controlling. And yet you're here. The bond should prevent you from working against Naruto Uzumaki's interests. The bond creates attraction and connection. Not obedience. Amaya's performance was flawless. I can still think for myself. Still recognize that what Mei is doing, bonding to a foreign shinobi, opening Kurigakure to outside influence, is wrong. Prove it, Ryaika said bluntly. Tell me where the brat is right now. The bond should let you sense his location. Through their bond, Naruto felt Amaya's spike of worry. This was a test she couldn't fake. She actually could sense his location, and lying would be detected. He's in Kurigakure, Amaya said carefully. In the Mizukage's compound. He's been staying there since the assassination attempt. Convenient. And you're able to work against him despite the bond. The bond influences me. But I'm strong enough to resist. Amaya stepped closer. Ryaika, I didn't come here to prove my loyalty with words. I came to offer you something valuable: intelligence about the Crimson Seal. How it works, what its weaknesses are, how to counter it. That got Ryaika's attention. Can you counter the seal? I've been bonded to its wielder for weeks. I've felt it from the inside. Yes, I can counter it. Or at least, I can tell you how to avoid its influence. Ryaika was silent, calculating. Finally, she nodded. Tell me. What followed was a masterclass in deception. Amaya provided real information about the Crimson Seal, enough to be credible while subtly omitting crucial details. She explained how the seal amplified existing emotions, how it could be partially resisted with mental discipline, how it had limits. Ryaika absorbed it all, her sharp mind processing the intelligence. This is valuable. But it doesn't prove you're willing to act against the bond. What would prove it? Amaya asked. Help us capture Naruto Uzumaki. Ryaika's eyes gleamed. With him in our custody, we can study the seal properly. Learn to counter it. And strike a blow against Mei's foreign entanglements. That's ambitious. That's the point. Will you help? This was the moment. Amaya glanced at Naruto, still transformed, still playing the role of bodyguard, and through their bond, he felt her preparing to spring the trap. No, Amaya said simply. Ryaika's hand moved toward a kunai, but Naruto was faster. The transformation dropped as he activated the Crimson Seal, red chakra flooding the cavern. Shadow clones burst into existence, blocking the exits. You betrayed me, Ryaika hissed, her already activating. The cavern warped, reality bending as she tried to trap them in an illusion. But Naruto had trained with kunai for weeks specifically for this. He dispelled them, and his clones engaged the resistance members who'd been hiding in the shadows. Ryaika was good, incredibly good. She wove after, each one more complex than the last. But she'd made a critical error. She'd underestimated how the Crimson Seal would affect the battle. Every time she cast it, the seal's influence would seep through, amplifying her focus on Naruto. Not attraction, she genuinely hated him, but amplified hostility that made her attacks more aggressive and less tactical. Amaya engaged her directly, matching with the two specialists dueled in both the physical and mental planes, each trying to trap the other in illusion. You could have been powerful, Ryaika snarled. But you let a boy chain you with his chakra. He didn't chain me, Amaya shot back, her blade deflecting Ryaika's kunai. I chose the bond. That's something you'll never understand, the difference between control and connection. The fight was brutal but brief. Naruto's clones overwhelmed the resistance members, and without her backup, Ryuka couldn't maintain her defense against both Naruto and Amaya. She fell, chakra exhausted, her finally failing. Ao and his team burst in moments later, having been waiting nearby as backup. Ryuka of the Crimson Mist, Ao announced formally. You're under arrest for treason, assassination attempt, and conspiracy against the Mizukage. As they secured her, Ryuka looked at Amaya with disappointment. You really did betray everything you were. No, Amaya said quietly. I found something better than what I was. The aftermath of Ryuka's capture sent ripples through Kuritaker's political landscape. Her network was dismantled, dozens of co-conspirators arrested. The traditionalist faction that had opposed Mei's reforms lost its teeth. But it also sparked a wider conversation about the Crimson Seal and its implications for village security. If a foreign shinobi could bond a cage, what did that mean for village autonomy? Naruto found himself in a formal hearing before Kuritaker's Council of Elders parallel to Konoha's council, but more traditional and conservative. Naruto Uzumaki, the head elder, began. Your bond to our Mizukage saved her life. For that, you have our gratitude. But it also raises concerning questions about foreign influence. I understand your concerns, Naruto said carefully. But the bond doesn't give me control over Mei-sama. She remains fully autonomous. So you claim. Yet you felt her danger from Konoha. You crossed 100 miles in minutes to reach her. That level of connection suggests something more than simple emotional awareness. It's a security feature, Mei interjected, present despite her lingering injuries. The bond alerts Naruto when I'm in mortal danger. That's not control, that's an emergency beacon. A beacon that brings a foreign shinobi directly to our Mizukage during moments of vulnerability, another elder said. Forgive us if we find that concerning. Would you prefer I died? Mei's voice was sharp. Because without Naruto's intervention, that's exactly what would have happened. We prefer our Mizukage not be bonded to foreign shinobi at all, the head elder said bluntly. Mei-sama, we respect your authority. But this bond creates complications that extend beyond personal relationships. I'm aware. I accepted those complications when I chose the bond. Mei stood, her presence commanding despite her injuries. And I'd make the same choice again. The bond has proven its value not just in saving my life, but in revealing and eliminating a significant internal threat. Because you brought another bonded individual here to assist, an elder pointed out. Amaya, the reformed missing nin. How many more foreign shinobi will you bond to yourself? I'm not bonding with anyone else, Naruto said firmly. Mei-sama was a deliberate choice made with full oversight from both our villages. That's not something I'm doing casually. But you could. That's the concern. You have the power to bond our Mizukage, our Anbu, potentially our entire leadership structure. The head elder leaned forward. What's to stop you from creating a network of bonds that undermines Kuritaker's autonomy? The fact that I don't want to, Naruto said. And the framework I operate under in Konoha, which includes oversight and ethical guidelines. I'm not trying to build an empire through chakra bonds. Your intentions may be noble. But power doesn't always remain in noble hands. It was a fair point, and Naruto didn't have a good counter. The Crimson Seal could theoretically be used to build exactly the kind of influence network the elders feared. Then work with Konoha to establish international guidelines, Mei suggested. Treaties about bond formation between villages, restrictions on bonding foreign leadership, oversight mechanisms. We pioneered the framework in Konoha, extending it internationally. The elders considered this. That would require cooperation from all 5 great villages. Then let's convene a summit, Mei said. Address the Crimson Seal formally, establish international protocols. Turning it into a tool for cooperation rather than a source of fear. An ambitious proposal. I'm an ambitious Mizukage. Mei smiled despite her pain. And I have a bonded Konoha shinobi who can help facilitate such cooperation. Let's use this bond for what it was intended, building bridges between villages. The hearing continued for another hour, but the proposal for an international summit gained traction. By the end, the elders agreed to present the idea to the other villages. As Naruto and Mei left the chamber, she leaned heavily on him, exhaustion finally catching up. That was brilliant, he said. Turning their concerns into an opportunity for broader cooperation. I learned from watching Tsunade navigate politics, Mei admitted. Sometimes the best defense is proposing something even more ambitious than your critics expect. Through their bond, Naruto felt her satisfaction mixed with weariness. You should rest. Soon. But first, I need to talk to you about something. She led him to a private balcony overlooking the village. Naruto, this past week has shown me something important. The bonds aren't just personal relationships, they're going to have major political implications. What happened here will happen elsewhere as more people become aware of the seal. I know. It's terrifying. It's also inevitable. You can't put this power back in the bottle. She looked at him seriously. So you need to start thinking strategically. Not about exploiting the bonds, but about managing their political fallout. Every bond you form will have consequences beyond the personal. Are you saying I should form more bonds deliberately? For political purposes? No. I'm saying you should be aware that your bonds will be interpreted politically regardless of your intentions. And you should use that awareness to make informed decisions. May paused. The summit I proposed. It's going to put you at the center of international attention. Every cage, every major clan head, every political faction, they'll all be watching you. Some will fear you. Others will try to use you. And a few will see you as an opportunity. That sounds exhausting. It will be. But it's also a chance to shape how the international community views the Crimson Seal. To establish norms and expectations before someone else does it for you. Through the bond, Naruto felt Mei's genuine concern for him. She wasn't pushing her own agenda, she was trying to prepare him for what was coming. Thank you, he said quietly. For helping me think through this. That's what bonds are for. Supporting each other through difficult situations. She smiled. Now help me with my medical. I think I just tore my stitches being dramatic in that council meeting. Naruto returned to Konoha a week after Mei's assassination attempt, bringing Amaya with him. The mission had been successful, conspiracy dismantled, Ryaika captured, Mei's position secured, but the personal cost had been significant. He now understood viscerally what Mito had meant about bonds being a burden. The constant awareness of bonded individuals' emotions, the way their pain became his pain, the responsibility of carrying others' well-being, it was exhausting in ways pure physical combat never was. Tsunade met him at the village gates, relief flooding through their bond. You're alright. When I felt Mei's danger through your connection, I was terrified you'd both been killed. Close call. But we managed. Naruto gave her the full briefing as they walked to the Hokage Tower. Mei's proposing an international summit about the Crimson Seal. To establish guidelines and prevent other villages from viewing the bonds as threats. That's actually brilliant. Proactive rather than reactive. Tsunade's mind was already working through the implications. When? She's suggesting 6 months from now. Gives everyone time to prepare, discuss internally, and develop positions. 6 months. That's not much time to establish international protocols for an unprecedented chakra ability. Tsunade sighed. But it's better than waiting for another crisis to force the conversation. They spent the next hour in Tsunade's office, planning Konoha's approach to the summit. It quickly became apparent that Naruto's bonds would be both an asset and a complication. Having you bonded to Mei gives us insight into Kurigaku's position, Shikaku observed during the planning session. But it also makes other villages suspicious of your relationship. They'll wonder if you're coordinating behind the scenes. We are coordinating, Naruto pointed out. That's what the bond enables. Exactly. Which is why we need to be transparent about it. The more we hide the bond's capabilities, the more fearful others become. The discussion continued, mapping out potential allies and opposition. Kumagakure would likely be hostile, they'd already lost one elite to missing nin status, and they'd be wary of bonds that could turn their shinobi against them. Iwagakure would be cautious but potentially open to dialogue. Sunagakure, with their existing alliance to Konoha, would probably support them. What about smaller villages? Kurenai asked. They're not usually included in 5-cage summits, but the Crimson Seal could affect them too. Good point. We should advocate for broader representation. Tsunade made a note. The more voices included, the more legitimate the resulting framework will be. As the meeting wrapped up, Naruto felt a familiar presence approaching Hinata. Through their partial bond, he sensed her determination mixed with nervousness. She appeared at the office door. Hokage-sama, I apologize for interrupting. But I need to speak with Naruto. It's important. Tsunade looked at Naruto, who nodded. We're finished here anyway. Naruto, you're dismissed. Outside the tower, Hinata led him to a quiet training ground. She was clearly steeling herself for something difficult. Hinata, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I need to tell you something, and I've been putting it off for too long. She took a breath. My father has been asking about my partial bond with you. About whether it will become complete. And I told him I wanted it too. Deliberately. The words came out in a rush. I know you're not ready, I know there are complications, but Naruto-kun, I can't keep living in this uncertain middle ground. The partial bond is enough to affect my judgment and emotions, but not enough to give me the full connection. It's torture. Through their bond, Naruto felt her genuine distress. She wasn't exaggerating, the incomplete bond was causing her significant emotional strain. The framework has procedures for deliberate bonding, Hinata continued. Psychological evaluation, committee approval, all of it. I want to go through that process. I want to know if we're compatible for a complete bond or if I should work on suppressing what we have. Hinata. Please don't try to protect me from this decision. I'm an adult and the heiress to the Hyuga clan. I can make informed choices about my own bonds. Her lavender eyes met his. But I need to know, is a complete bond with me something you'd even consider? Or am I wasting my time hoping? It was a fair question, and Hinata deserved an honest answer. Naruto thought about what he knew of her kindness, her strength, her loyalty. The partial bond let him sense her emotions, and what he felt was genuine care that predated the seal. "I'd consider it," he said carefully. "But Hinata, I need you to understand something. I have 5 complete bonds already. Adding more isn't something I'm doing casually. I know. That's why I want to go through the official process. Get evaluated, see if we're actually compatible, make an informed decision." She stepped closer. "I'm not asking you to bond me today. I'm asking if you'll go through the evaluation process with me. See if what we could have is worth pursuing." "Okay," Naruto said. "I'll do the evaluation. But Hinata, if the result says we're not compatible, or if I decide it's not right, you need to accept that." "I will. As long as I know I tried." She smiled, and it was the bravest thing Naruto had seen from her. "Thank you. For taking me seriously." After she left, Naruto stood alone in the training ground, feeling the weight of yet another potential bond. How many more would there be? How many evaluations, deliberations, decisions about who to bind permanently to himself? "You're thinking about running away," Kurama observed. "The thought has crossed my mind." "Don't. You're finally starting to manage this power effectively. Running now would undo all that progress." "But Kurama, how many bonds am I supposed to form? Where's the line?" Mito said 50 to 60 complete bonds before you reach capacity. You're at 5. You have room. Kurama's presence was steady in his mind. "But here's what you need to remember, not every partial bond has to become complete. You're allowed to maintain some connections at a lower intensity. But how do I decide which ones? Compatibility. Mutual benefit. Whether the relationship is healthier, complete or partial." Kurama paused. "And sometimes, intuition. Trust your gut, Naruto. The seal chose you for a reason. I wish I knew what that reason was. Maybe you'll find out at the summit May's proposing." The next morning, Naruto woke to a summons from the oversight committee. Hinata had formally submitted a request for deliberate bonding evaluation. The committee wanted to meet with both of them. The meeting was held in a conference room with all 5 committee members present. Tsunade, Inoichi, Shikaku, Hiashi, and Kurenai. The atmosphere was formal, clinical even. Hinata Hyuga has submitted a request for deliberate bond formation with Naruto Uzumaki. Tsunade began, reading from the official form. "As per the framework, both parties must undergo psychological evaluation to assess compatibility and readiness. Are you both willing to proceed?" "Yes," Hinata said firmly. "Yes," Naruto confirmed. "Then we'll schedule separate evaluation sessions with Inoichi, followed by a joint session. The committee will review the results and make a recommendation." Tsunade's voice was neutral, but through their bond, Naruto felt her complicated emotion support for the process mixed with personal jealousy. Hayashi spoke up. "Before we proceed, I wanted noted that the Hyuga clan supports this request. Hinata has been forthright about her partial bond and its effects. If a complete bond would provide clarity and stability, we support that outcome." "Noted," Shikaku said. "Though clan support doesn't override the evaluation process." "Of course not. I simply wanted Hinata to know she has her family's backing." Through his partial bond with Hinata, Naruto felt her relief and gratitude toward her father. The old Hiashi would never have been so publicly supportive. The evaluations took place over the next 3 days. Inoichi was thorough, probing motivations, compatibility factors, and emotional readiness. He asked Naruto about his existing bonds, how he managed them, whether adding another felt sustainable. 5 complete bonds is significant, Inoichi observed. But you're nowhere near capacity. The question is whether this specific bond serves both parties well. "What's your assessment?" Naruto asked. "That requires analyzing both individual sessions and your joint session." Inoichi made notes. "But preliminary thoughts. You and Hinata have strong baseline compatibility. Shared values, complementary personalities, mutual respect. The question is whether the intensity of a complete bond enhances that or overwhelms it." The joint session was more revealing. Inoichi had them work through various scenarios: conflict resolution, decision-making, emotional processing, while monitoring how their existing partial bond affected their interactions. "You defer to him more than you should," Inoichi observed Hinata. "The bond is already creating a power imbalance." "I've always deferred to him," Hinata said. "That's my personality, not the bond. But the bond amplifies it. A complete bond would amplify it further. Are you prepared for that?" "Yes. I trust Naruto-kun to not abuse that dynamic." "And you?" Inoichi turned to Naruto. "Are you comfortable with a bond where the power dynamics favor you so heavily?" "No," Naruto admitted. "I'd want to actively work against that imbalance. Make sure Hinata maintains her own voice and agency." "That's a good answer. But intentions don't always match reality, especially with something as invasive as a complete bond." The evaluation continued, digging into increasingly personal territory. By the end, both Naruto and Hinata were emotionally exhausted. I'll present my findings to the committee tomorrow, Inoichi said. You'll both be notified of the decision within 48 hours. As they left the evaluation center, Hinata looked drained. That was harder than I expected. Yeah. Inoichi doesn't pull punches. Naruto walked beside her through the quiet evening streets. Are you okay? I'm nervous. What if they say we're not compatible? What if the evaluation shows the bond would be unhealthy? Then we respect that and work on managing the partial bond we have, Naruto said. Hinata, the evaluation exists to protect both of us. If it says a complete bond isn't right, there's probably a good reason. I know. But I want this so badly. Her voice cracked slightly. I've wanted to be close to you for so long, and now that there's a possibility, the thought of it being denied. Naruto stopped walking and turned to face her. Hinata, listen to me. Whether or not the bond completes, you matter to me. The evaluation doesn't change that. Really? Really? Bond or no bond, you're important. Through their partial connection, he sent a pulse of genuine affection, letting her feel his sincerity. Tears formed in Hinata's eyes. Thank you. I needed to hear that. They continued walking, and Naruto felt the partial bond between them pulse with warmth. Whatever the committee decided, this connection existed. It mattered. And maybe that was enough, regardless of whether it deepened. The committee's decision came 2 days later. Naruto was summoned to Tsunade's office to receive it. All 5 committee members were present, their expressions carefully neutral. We've reviewed Inoichi's evaluation, Tsunade began. His findings are complex. You and Hinata show strong compatibility in most areas. Shared values, complementary strengths, genuine mutual care. The bond would likely be stable and beneficial to both parties. But Naruto heard the unspoken caveat. But there are concerns about power dynamics, Shikaku continued. Hinata's natural deference combined with the bond's influence creates a potential for unhealthy imbalance. Not because either of you wants it, but because the bond would amplify existing patterns. What's the committee's recommendation? Naruto asked. We're recommending a delayed approval, Tsunade said. 6 months of structured relationship building, working together on missions, attending couples counseling, actively addressing the power dynamic concerns. If at the end of 6 months both parties still want the bond and the dynamics have improved, we'll approve it. It was more than Naruto had expected. Not rejection, but not immediate approval either. And Hinata agreed to this. She's being informed now, Inoichi said. But yes, she indicated during evaluation that she'd accept whatever timeline the committee deemed necessary. Then I'll accept it too, Naruto said. 6 months of relationship building. We can do that. There's one more thing, Hiashi spoke up. As Hinata's father and a committee member, I want to add a condition. During these 6 months, Naruto will formally court Hinata according to Hyuga customs. Not because I'm trying to force a romantic relationship, but because our customs include built-in safeguards against power imbalances. Hinata will have clan support and oversight. You want me to court her? Formally? Naruto had vague ideas about what that meant: formal meetings, chaperone dates, family involvement. I want you both to build a foundation that extends beyond the chakra bond. The Hyuga courting customs require demonstrating respect, commitment, and equality. They'll force you to address the power dynamics proactively. It was clever, and Naruto could see the logic. Okay. I'll court Hinata. Formally. With all the Hyuga customs. Excellent. Hayashi actually smiled slightly. I'll provide you with the relevant documentation. And Naruto. Thank you for taking this seriously. After the meeting, Tsunade held Naruto back. Are you sure about this? Formal courting is a significant commitment, even if the bond doesn't ultimately complete. I'm sure. Hinata deserves someone who's willing to put in the effort. If that means navigating Hyuga customs, so be it. For their bond, Tsunade felt his determination mixed with nervousness. You really do care about her. I do. Maybe not romantically yet, but she's important to me. Worth the effort. Good. Tsunade's emotions were complex: jealousy, but also approval. Just remember you have other bonds to maintain too. Don't neglect your existing relationships while building new ones. I won't. Promise. But even as he said it, Naruto wondered how true that promise could be. With 5 complete bonds, multiple partial bonds, and now a formal courtship, his life was becoming increasingly complex. How did Mito manage 50 or 60 bonds? How did she maintain any sense of individual identity while being connected to so many others? One day at a time, Kurama reminded him. That's all anyone can do. One day at a time. It would have to be enough. The news of Naruto's formal courtship of Hinata spread through the village within hours. By evening, the support group had called an emergency meeting. Naruto arrived to find the room packed, not just the regular members, but others who'd heard about the development and wanted to weigh in. Ino and Sakura looked conflicted. Tenten seemed resigned. Anko was grinning like this was the best entertainment she'd had in weeks. So, Anko said as Naruto entered. Formal courtship. That's serious. It's part of the evaluation process, Naruto explained. The committee wants us to build a foundation beyond the bond before deciding on completion. But you're courting her, Ino pressed. That's romantic. That's choosing her over the rest of us. The courtship is about addressing power dynamics, not declaring exclusive romantic intent, Kurenai corrected. She was trying to be neutral, but through their bond, Naruto felt her discomfort with the situation. Sounds like semantics, Sakura muttered. It's not, Tsunade said firmly. The courtship is a framework for building healthy relationship patterns. If it works, and if Naruto and Hinata both choose to complete the bond after 6 months, then yes, that will be a romantic commitment. But we're not there yet. But it's a step in that direction, AM pointed out. Which means Hinata has an advantage over the rest of us who are just waiting. She has the advantage because she took action, Amaya said. Everyone turned to look at the newest member of the group. She formally requested evaluation instead of just hoping Naruto would eventually notice her. That's not unfair, that's initiative. But not everyone can do that. A newer member named Xian who'd been exposed during a recent mission spoke up. Some of us have partial bonds, but don't know if we want them complete. We're still figuring it out. Then take your time figuring it out, Kurenai said. No one's forcing you to decide immediately. The framework allows for partial bonds to exist indefinitely. But they're uncomfortable, Xian argued. The constant awareness without full connection. It's like being hungry but never quite satisfied. Several women nodded in agreement. The partial bonds were clearly affecting more people than Naruto had realized. Maybe we need to address that, Tsunade said thoughtfully. The framework assumed partial bonds would be manageable, but if they're causing significant discomfort, we should develop protocols for either completing or suppressing them. Suppressing them? Sakura asked. Is that possible? In theory. With sealing techniques, we might be able to dampen the bond's intensity without breaking it entirely. Tsunade looked at Naruto. Would you be willing to work with the sealing core on that? Develop a technique for managing partial bonds? Of course. If it helps people feel more comfortable, I'm all for it. The meeting continued, with women expressing various concerns and perspectives. By the end, several things were clear. First, the partial bonds were affecting more people than the official registry showed. Many had minor exposure that was slowly developing into something stronger. Second, the deliberate bonding process was creating tension among those affected. Some wanted to pursue it, others resented that someone else was getting ahead. Third, they needed better support structures for managing the bond's emotional intensity, not just for those directly affected, but for their families and friends who were impacted secondarily. We're going to need to expand the support group, Shizune said, taking notes. Maybe multiple groups based on bond strength, one for complete bonds, one for strong partials, one for minor exposure. And we need clearer guidelines about romantic versus platonic bonds, Kurenai added. Not every bond has to be romantic, but people assume they are. That's causing unnecessary confusion. Good points, Tsunade said. We'll implement those changes. But for tonight, I want everyone to remember something important: we're all in this together. The bonds create complications, yes, but they also create community. Let's focus on supporting each other rather than competing. As people filed out, Naruto felt overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of what he'd created or what had been created through him. The Crimson Seal was reshaping relationships across the village, creating new dynamics and tensions that no one knew how to navigate. May had been right. The bonds would have major political implications. But they'd also have deep personal implications for everyone affected, everyone connected, everyone trying to build lives around unprecedented chakra connections. You okay? Kurenai asked, lingering after the others left. Honestly, I'm exhausted. And a little scared. Of what? Of losing myself in all these connections. Of becoming just a node in a network instead of an individual person. Naruto looked at her. How do you manage it? The bond between us, does it ever feel like too much? Sometimes, Kurenai admitted. But it also feels right. Like I found something I didn't know I was missing. She moved closer. Naruto, you're not going to lose yourself. The bonds don't erase who you are, they just add layers to your identity. But what if those layers overwhelm the core? Then the people bonded to you will help you remember who you are. That's what these connections are for: mutual support, not just one-way dependence. Through their bond, Naruto felt her absolute certainty. She thought about this extensively, examined it from every angle, and reached peace with it. Thank you, he said quietly. For being patient with me while I figure this all out. Always. Kurenai smiled. Now go home and rest. Tomorrow you start formal courtship training with the Hyuga clan. You'll need your energy. Courtship training? Oh yes. Hayashi wasn't kidding about the customs. You're about to get a crash course in formal romance, Hyuga style. Naruto groaned, and Kurenai laughed, a sound that made their bond pulse with warmth and affection. Maybe she was right. Maybe the bonds were just layers added to his identity, not replacements for it. And maybe, just maybe, he could learn to carry all these connections without losing himself in the process. But as he walked home through the quiet night streets, feeling the bonds pulse with awareness of each connected soul, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that his life was spiraling in directions he couldn't fully control. The Crimson Seal had awakened something in him. And whether that something would save him or consume him remained an open question. Naruto stood in the Hyuga compound's formal receiving room, feeling distinctly out of place. The room was all polished wood and elegant calligraphy, radiating centuries of tradition. He'd faced down gods during the war with more confidence than he felt right now. Nashi sat across from him, with Hinata to his right and Hanabi, Hinata's younger sister, to his left. Between them was a low table covered in scrolls, documents, and what appeared to be a very thick instruction manual. "Welcome, Naruto-kun," Hayashi said formally. "You've agreed to court Hinata according to our clan's customs. Do you understand what that entails?" "Honestly, not really. But I'm willing to learn." The Ashi's lips twitched almost a smile. "Honesty is appreciated. Hanabi, if you would explain the basics." Hanabi, now 16 and far more confident than she'd been as a child, picked up the manual with barely concealed amusement. The Hyuga courting customs have 7 stages. Each stage tests different aspects of compatibility and commitment. 7 stages. Naruto's voice cracked slightly. "Don't worry, you can move through them at your own pace," Hinata said softly. Through their partial bond, he felt her nervousness matching his own. "Stage 1 is the formal declaration," Hanabi continued. "You must formally announce your intent to court to both the clan and Hinata herself. There's a specific ceremony for this." "When?" "Today. In about an hour." Hanabi grinned at his expression. "Father's already sent out the invitations. Half the clan will be here to witness." Half the Naruto took a breath. "Okay. What do I need to do?" "First, you need to change." Hiashi gestured, and a servant appeared with formal clothing, traditional Hakama and Heiori and Uzumaki colors. "You represent both yourself and your clan. Dress accordingly." 20 minutes later, Naruto stood in formal attire that felt strangely right. The Uzumaki clan symbol was embroidered on the back, a spiral that seemed to echo the Crimson Seal's patterns. Looking at himself in the mirror, he looked less like a shinobi and more like a clan heir. "You look good," Kurama observed. "Like you're finally accepting your heritage." "I feel like I'm playing dress up." That's what all formal traditions feel like initially. Give it time. The ceremony was held in the clan's main courtyard, with dozens of Hyuga members in attendance. Naruto spotted several familiar faces: Niji, looking amused. Ko, Hinata's former team leader, watching carefully. And numerous elders whose expressions ranged from curious to skeptical. Nashi stood at the center, with Hinata beside him. Naruto approached as instructed, each step measured and formal. "Naruto Uzumaki," Hayashi's voice carried across the courtyard. "You come before the Hyuga clan seeking permission to court my eldest daughter, Hinata. State your intentions." Naruto had memorized the words from the manual, but speaking them in front of dozens of witnesses was different. "I come with respect for your traditions and genuine care for Hinata. I seek to build a foundation of trust and mutual understanding. I offer my protection, my support, and my honest effort to be worthy of her consideration." "And what do you bring to this courtship?" This part wasn't in the manual. Naruto had to answer from his heart. "I bring myself, flaws and all. I bring my determination to treat Hinata with the respect she deserves. And I bring a willingness to learn your customs, even when they're unfamiliar and intimidating." A ripple of quiet laughter went through the crowd. Even Hiyashi's expression softened. "Hinata," Hiyashi turned to his daughter. "Do you accept this declaration?" Hinata stood, and Naruto saw her hands trembling slightly. But her voice was steady. "I accept Naruto-kun's declaration. I welcome his courtship and pledge to be honest about my feelings and expectations throughout this process." "Then let the first stage be marked as complete." Hayashi produced a scroll and handed it to Naruto. "This documents your formal declaration. Keep it safe, you'll need it for the final stage." As the ceremony concluded, clan members approached to offer congratulations or, in some cases, warnings. One elder pulled Naruto aside with a grip that suggested she'd been a formidable kunoichi in her day. "The Hyuga clan has high standards," she said bluntly. "Hinata is our heiress. If you hurt her or treat this courtship as a game, there will be consequences." "I understand," Naruto said. "I'm taking this seriously." "See that you do." She released his arm and walked away, leaving Naruto feeling like he'd just been evaluated and found barely adequate. Niji appeared beside him, smirking. "Congratulations on surviving stage 1. Only 6 more to go." "Thanks for the encouragement. What's stage 2? "Demonstration of skill. You'll need to prove you can provide for and protect Hinata. Usually involves completing a difficult mission or demonstrating exceptional abilities." "That doesn't sound too bad. The mission is chosen by the clan elders. And they're not known for being easy on prospective suitors." Niji's smirk widened. "Good luck." Stage 2 was announced 3 days later. the task. Infiltrate a heavily defended bandit compound in the land of rice fields, retrieve stolen Hyuga techniques, and return within 1 week. Alone. This is a test of your individual capability, Hayashi explained as he briefed Naruto on the mission. Hinata needs to know you can handle difficult situations without relying on your bonds or teammates. Do the bandits have Byakugan techniques? Naruto asked, reviewing the intelligence scroll. Stolen 2 months ago from a caravan. The thieves are former shinobi with anti-Byakugan training. They know how to counter our clan's abilities. So sending a Hyuga to retrieve them would be dangerous. Exactly. We need someone with different skill sets. Hayashi met his eyes. This isn't meant to be impossible, Naruto. But it is meant to be challenging. The mission began the next morning. Naruto traveled alone, using his sensory abilities and shadow clone techniques to gather intelligence on the bandit compound. It was formidable 3 layers of barriers, rotating guard patrols, and chakra detection systems that would alert them to any shinobi approach. This is actually kind of fun, Kurama observed as Naruto scouted from a distance. When's the last time you did a solo infiltration? Never. I always have teammates. Naruto was realizing how much he relied on others not just for the bonds, but for basic mission operations. I need to approach this differently. He spent 2 days observing patterns, identifying weak points, and developing a plan. The bandits were professional, but they had predictable routines. And they'd prepared for Hyuga infiltration, not for an Uzumaki with unconventional techniques. On the 3rd night, Naruto made his move. He used a variant of the sexy jutsu transformed into a traveling merchant, seeking shelter to get inside the outer perimeter. Once past the first checkpoint, he dropped the transformation and used shadow clones to create chaos in the eastern section while he infiltrated from the west. The stolen techniques were kept in a secured vault, protected by multiple seals. But Naruto had spent weeks studying Uzumaki sealing techniques with Tsunade. He recognized the seal patterns and found the vulnerabilities. As he worked on the vault, he felt the crimson seal pulse. Someone bonded to him was feeling intense emotion. Through the connection, he identified it as Hinata, anxious about his safety despite being miles away. He sent a pulse of reassurance through their bond, letting her feel his confidence. Almost immediately, her anxiety diminished, replaced by determination. She's cheering me on, he realized. Through the bond. It was a strange form of support, but it worked. Naruto felt his focus sharpen, his hand steady as he completed the unsealing sequence. The vault opened, revealing 3 scrolls of Hyuga techniques. Alarms blared. His infiltration had been detected. Naruto grabbed the scrolls and ran, using shadow clones to delay pursuit. The bandits were good, organized, coordinated, and angry. But Naruto had the advantage of desperation and the Crimson Seal's power. He activated the seal, letting red chakra flood through him. The pursuing bandits faltered, some succumbing to the seal's influence. Their aggression amplified into rage that made them attack each other. Others resisted better, but the confusion gave Naruto the opening he needed. He burst through the compound's outer wall using a Rasengan, then ran for the forest. Behind him, the compound was chaos, alarms, shouting, internal fighting as the seal's influence spread through those who'd been exposed. By dawn, Naruto was 30 miles away, the stolen scrolls safely secured. He'd completed the mission in 3 days instead of the allotted week. When he returned to the Hyuga compound, Hayashi was waiting with several elders. They examined the scrolls, verified their authenticity, and nodded in satisfaction. Stage 2 complete, Hayashi announced. You've demonstrated skill, resourcefulness, and efficiency. Well done. Through his bond with Hinata, Naruto felt her pride and relief. She'd been watching his progress through their connection, experiencing secondhand the danger and excitement. How did you know I'd succeed? Naruto asked Hayashi once they were alone. I didn't. But I believed you had the capability. Stage 2 isn't just about proving yourself to the clan, it's about proving to yourself that you can handle challenges independently. Hayashi paused. The bonds you carry are powerful tools, Naruto. But they can also become crutches. This mission showed you don't need them to succeed. It was an insight Naruto hadn't expected from the traditionally stern clan head. Thank you, Hiyashi-sama. Don't thank me yet. Stage 3 begins tomorrow. Stage 3 was demonstration of character, which involved a week of community service chosen by Hinata herself. She selected the village orphanage, the place where Naruto had grown up. I want to see how you interact with children who are going through what you went through, Hinata explained as they stood outside the orphanage. How you handle difficult emotions and memories. That's actually really smart, Naruto admitted. And kind of cruel. The Hyuga customs are designed to test compatibility thoroughly. If we can't handle difficult situations together, a complete bond would only amplify those problems. They spent the week at the orphanage, helping with daily operations, teaching basic skills, and providing emotional support to children who'd lost their families. For Naruto, it was cathartic and painful in equal measure. He saw himself in every lonely child, every kid who acted out for attention, everyone who tried too hard to be liked. And he found himself opening up about his own experiences in ways he rarely did. "I used to live here," he told a group of younger children during story time. "In that room on the second floor, the one with the broken window latch." "Did people not like you too?" a small boy asked, his eyes too knowing for his age. "No. They didn't. They were scared of something inside me that I couldn't control." Naruto glanced at Hinata, who was listening quietly. "But eventually, I found people who saw past their fear. Who decided to understand me instead of judging me." "Like Hinata-sama?" a girl asked. "Yeah. Like Hinata." Through their bond, he felt her emotional response: warmth, affection, validation. The week revealed aspects of both Naruto and Hinata that formal interactions never could. Naruto saw her patience with difficult children, her gentle firmness when setting boundaries, her genuine care for those society overlooked. And Hinata saw his empathy, his willingness to be vulnerable, his determination to make sure these children didn't feel as alone as he once had. On the last day, the orphanage director, an elderly woman named Yuki who'd been there since Naruto's childhood, pulled them aside. "You two work well together," she observed. "Complementary strengths, shared values. That's rarer than most people realize." "Do you think we're compatible?" Hinata asked directly. "I think you bring out good things in each other. But compatibility isn't just about bringing out good, it's about handling bad too. You'll need to face conflict, disagreement, and difficult decisions. That's when real compatibility shows." "Stage 4, Naruto guessed. "That's about handling conflict, isn't it?" Yuki smiled. "The Hyuga customs are thorough for good reason. Take your time with them." Stage 4 was called Trial of Disagreement. Hayashi assigned them a complex ethical dilemma to resolve together. A scenario where they had to make mission decisions that would affect innocent civilians. There was no right answer, any choice would result in harm to someone. They spent hours debating, disagreeing, sometimes arguing intensely. The partial bond made it worse, each feeling the other's frustration and conviction. But it also made them more aware of underlying concerns. "They're prioritizing immediate safety over long-term stability," Hinata argued. "That's short-sighted. And you're prioritizing abstract principles over people's lives right now," Naruto shot back. "That's cold." "I'm not cold. I'm trying to think strategically. And I'm trying to save actual people, not theoretical ones." They stared at each other, the bond between them crackling with tension. Then Naruto took a breath and forced himself to calm down. "Okay. We're approaching this wrong. What if we're both right? What if the answer isn't choosing your way or mine, but finding a synthesis?" Hinata paused, considering. "A hybrid approach. Addressing immediate needs while laying groundwork for long-term solutions." "Exactly. It'll be harder, require more resources. But it doesn't force us to choose between saving people now or helping them long-term." They worked through the scenario again with this new framework, finding creative solutions that honored both their perspectives. By the end, they'd developed an approach neither would have created individually. "That's the point of Stage 4, Hayashi said when they presented their solution. "Not to see if you agree on everything, but to see if you can disagree productively. Many couples fail here because they can't handle conflict without damaging the relationship." "Did we pass?" Naruto asked. "You didn't just pass. You demonstrated genuine partnership, taking each other's concerns seriously, working towards synthesis rather than compromise. That's exceptional." Through their bond, Naruto felt Hinata's pride and relief. They'd faced real conflict and come through stronger. Stage 5 was Meeting of Souls, an extended period of time spent in close proximity without romantic or physical interaction. They were assigned to a remote training compound for 2 weeks, sharing living space, but maintaining appropriate boundaries. "This tests whether you can coexist comfortably in mundane situations," Hanabi explained during the briefing. "Whether the attraction is genuine or just based on idealized versions of each other." The 2 weeks were simultaneously boring and revealing. They established routines. Naruto cooked breakfast, Hinata handled dinner. They trained together in the mornings, then spent afternoons on separate activities. Evenings involved discussion, reading, or quiet companionship. The partial bond made the proximity more intense. Naruto became hyper-aware of Hinata's presence, her habits, her moods, her thoughts. And she felt his restlessness, his occasional loneliness, his struggle with the constant emotional input from multiple bonds. "Is it hard?" she asked one evening as they sat on the compound's porch, watching the sunset. "Carrying all those bonds?" "Sometimes. It's like having multiple voices in my head, except they're emotions instead of words." Tsunede's stress about village politics, Kurenai's concerns about her students, Amaya's adjustment to village life, Mei's diplomatic pressures. All of it bleeds through. "And mine. Yours too. I feel your nervousness about this courtship, your hope that it works out, your worry that I'm only doing this out of obligation." Hinata flushed. "I didn't realize you could feel all that. The bond doesn't lie." Which is both comforting and terrifying. Does it bother you? Feeling everything from everyone? It's exhausting. But it's also grounding, in a way. I'm never truly alone, even when I want to be. That's both a gift and a burden. They sat in silence for a while, the bond between them pulsing with shared understanding. Naruto-kun, Hinata said eventually. If the committee approves our bond after 6 months and we complete it, will you resent me for adding one more voice to the chorus? It was a fair question. Naruto thought about it carefully. No. Because you're not just adding noise, you're adding something valuable. Your perspective, your strength, your presence. The bonds aren't just burdens. They're connections to people who matter. Even when those connections are complicated and messy. Especially then. Easy relationships don't teach you anything. Through their bond, Hinata felt his sincerity. He wasn't just saying what she wanted to hear, he genuinely believed it. The 2 weeks passed quickly. By the end, they'd developed a comfortable rhythm, a sense of partnership that felt natural despite the formal courtship framework. Stage 5 completed, Hiashi said when they returned. You've demonstrated the ability to coexist comfortably in daily life. That's crucial for any long-term relationship. What's stage 6? Naruto asked, though part of him dreaded the answer. Introduction to extended family. You'll spend time with various Hyuga clan members, learning our traditions and history. They'll evaluate whether you can integrate into the clan structure. That sounds intimidating. It is, Hinata said with a slight smile. But you've handled everything else well. I have faith in you. Through their bond, Naruto felt her confidence in him. It was a strange feeling having someone believe in him so completely through a chakra connection. Not just hoping he'd succeed, but genuinely trusting his capability. Maybe that's what the bonds were really for. Not a romantic connection, though that could develop. But deep fundamental trust that transcended normal human relationships. Stage 6 proved as challenging as Naruto feared. The extended Hyuga family was vast, traditional, and deeply skeptical of an outsider courting their clan heiress. He spent weeks attending formal dinners, participating in training sessions, and learning clan histories. Some family members were welcoming. Niji vouched for him repeatedly, as did younger clan members who'd grown up after the war. But the elders were harder to impress. You're not Hyuga, one elder said bluntly during a particularly painful dinner. You don't understand our ways, our values, our traditions. How can you possibly be suitable for Hinata? I can't be Hyuga, Naruto said carefully. But I can respect your clan, learn your ways, and support Hinata in honoring her heritage. Isn't that what matters? Not that I'm the same, but that I value what's important to her. Pretty words. But words are easy. Actions prove character. Then judge me by my actions. I've completed every stage of courtship so far. I've worked to understand your customs despite how foreign they are to me. I've treated Hinata with the respect she deserves. Naruto met the elder's eyes. I'm not asking you to believe I'm perfect for her. I'm asking you to believe I'm genuinely trying. The elder studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Effort counts for something. Continue as you have been. It was the closest thing to approval Naruto was going to get from that particular elder, but he'd take it. The clan integration process also revealed interesting dynamics. Naruto discovered that Hinata's position as heiress came with expectations and pressures he'd never fully appreciated. She was expected to be perfect, skilled in combat, diplomatic in clan politics, graceful in social situations. The weight of those expectations was crushing. Does it ever feel like too much? He asked one evening after a particularly formal clan gathering. Always, Hinata admitted. But it's my duty. The clan's future depends on strong leadership. But who takes care of you? Well, you're taking care of everyone else. The question seemed to surprise her. I don't know. I've never thought about it that way. That's what I want to do, Naruto said. If we complete the bond, if we build a relationship, I want to be the person who takes care of you while you take care of the clan. Support your support, if that makes sense. Through their bond, Hinata felt his genuine desire to protect and support her. Not because she was weak, but because even strong people needed support. The realization made her eyes water. Thank you, she whispered. For seeing that. I see a lot through this bond. Some of it's probably more than you wanted me to see. Maybe. But it's also liberating. I don't have to maintain my perfect heiress facade with you. You already know I'm anxious and uncertain and struggling. There's freedom in that vulnerability. It was a profound moment of connection, deeper than anything they'd shared before. The partial bond between them strengthened slightly, not to completion, but toward a recognition that they were building something real beneath the chakra influence. Stage 6 was eventually marked complete, with most clan members giving grudging approval of Naruto's integration efforts. Hayashi seemed particularly pleased. You've earned respect, not just acceptance, he told Naruto privately. That's rare for outsiders. The clan sees your genuine effort to understand us. What's stage 7? Naruto asked. The final stage demonstration of commitment. You must present Hinata with a meaningful gift that represents your understanding of her and your hopes for a shared future. It can't be purchased or commissioned. It must be created by your own hands. I'm not exactly a craftsman. Then you'll need to learn. Or find another way to create something meaningful. Hiyashi's expression softened slightly. This is the most personal stage, Naruto. It's not about impressing the clan or proving skill. It's about showing Hinata you understand her deeply enough to create something uniquely suited to her. Naruto spent days pondering what to create. Jewelry seemed too conventional. A weapon felt inappropriate for someone like Hinata, who valued peace. Practical items lacked the symbolic weight needed. Then inspiration struck. He remembered something Hinata had mentioned weeks ago during their time at the orphanage, how she'd always wanted a personal garden, a place of peace away from clan responsibilities. He couldn't create an actual garden, but he could create something that captured its essence. Working in secret, Naruto spent 3 weeks developing a unique seal, one that would create a small pocket dimension, a personal meditation space only Hinata could access. The seal required advanced Uzumaki techniques combined with his own crimson seal energy. He consulted Tsunade on the medical aspects, ensuring the space would be restful and safe. He worked with the sealing core to verify stability. And he incorporated elements of Hinata's own chakra so the space would be uniquely attuned to her. The result was a small scroll, beautifully calligraphed with seal formulas, that would open a pocket dimension containing a peaceful garden, cherry blossoms, a small pond, and comfortable seating. A place where Hinata could escape the pressures of being clan heiress. "This is your gift?" Hanabi asked when she saw the scroll. "A personal dimension. It's more than that. It's privacy, peace, sanctuary. Things Hinata rarely gets as clan heiress." Naruto explained how the seal worked, how only Hinata could access the space, how it would remain stable for decades with minimal chakra maintenance. "That's actually really thoughtful," Hanabi admitted. "And creative. She'll love it." The final ceremony was held in the Hyuga compound's main hall, with the entire clan present. Naruto stood before Hinata, holding the scroll, suddenly nervous despite having completed the previous 6 stages. "Hinata," he said formally, his voice carrying across the hall. "I offer you this gift as a demonstration of my understanding and commitment. It represents my desire to give you peace amid chaos, privacy amid constant observation, and a space that's entirely your own." He presented the scroll and explained its function. Hinata's eyes widened as she understood the implications of personal sanctuary, created by Naruto's own hands using advanced sealing techniques he'd learned specifically for this purpose. "May I try it?" she asked softly. "Of course. It's yours." Hinata activated the scroll, and for a moment she disappeared, transported into the pocket dimension. The clan waited in silence. When she reappeared 30 seconds later, there were tears streaming down her face. "It's beautiful," she said, her voice breaking. "Naruto-kun, this is the most thoughtful gift anyone's ever given me." Through their bond, Naruto felt the depth of her emotion, not just gratitude, but genuine love. Not the forced affection of chakra influence, but real feelings that had been growing throughout their 6 months of courtship. "Stage 7 complete," Hayashi announced, his own voice thick with emotion. "Naruto Uzumaki, you have completed all 7 stages of Hyuga courtship customs. The clan acknowledges your commitment, your character, and your compatibility with Hinata. You have our blessing to pursue a complete bond, should both of you choose that path." The hall erupted in applause. Naruto stood there, overwhelmed, feeling through the bond how happy Hinata was, how proud her family was, how significant this moment truly was. "So," he said to Hinata once the formalities ended and they had a moment alone. 6 months of courtship completed. The evaluation committee will meet next week to make their final recommendation. "Are you ready?" Hinata asked. "For their decision?" "I don't know. But I know I'm glad I did this. Glad I learned your clan's ways, spent this time with you, built something real beneath the bond's influence." "Me too." Hinata touched the scroll he'd given her, now secured at her side. "Whatever happens, I'm grateful for these 6 months. Even if the committee says we shouldn't complete the bond. Even then. Because we built a genuine friendship, Naruto-kun. That matters regardless of romantic outcomes." Through their bond, Naruto felt her sincerity. She meant it, she valued what they'd built even if it never became more. And that, more than anything else in the past 6 months, convinced him that completing their bond might be the right choice after all. The Oversight Committee's final meeting about Hinata's bond request was scheduled for the first day of spring. Naruto arrived early to find the conference room already occupied not just by the 5 committee members, but by nearly a dozen others. Inoichi noticed his surprise. Word got out about today's meeting. Several interested parties requested to observe. Interested parties turned out to be representatives from various clans, including the heads of the Yamanaka, Nara, and Akimichi clans, the Ino-Shikacho alliance. Also present were several instructors and, surprisingly, members of Konoha's civilian council. "This has become a precedent-setting decision," Shikaku explained. "How we handle Hinata's case will influence future deliberate bond requests. Everyone wants to understand the process." Tsunade called the meeting to order. Through their bond, Naruto felt her careful neutrality. She'd recused herself from the actual vote to avoid appearance of bias, but she'd still chair the proceedings. We're here to review the evaluation results for Hinata Hyuga and Naruto Uzumaki's potential bond completion, Tsunade began formally. Inoichi, present your findings. Inoichi stood, his expression serious. I've conducted 3 evaluation sessions over the 6-month courtship period. Initial assessment, midpoint check-in, and final evaluation. I've also reviewed reports from Hyuga clan observers and interviewed both parties extensively. He pulled out a thick folder. My findings are complex. Naruto and Hinata show strong compatibility across most metrics: shared values, complementary personalities, effective conflict resolution, and genuine mutual care. The courtship process revealed no major red flags and several positive developments. However, Inoichi continued, the power dynamic concerns we identified initially persist. Hinata still defers to Naruto more than is ideal. While they've made progress on this issue, I'm not certain it's been fully resolved. What's your professional recommendation? Hiashi asked, his clan head status giving him observer privileges. Conditional approval. The bond can proceed, but with mandatory ongoing counseling for the first year. Monthly sessions to monitor the power dynamics and ensure they don't become unhealthy. I'll accept those conditions, Hinata said immediately. She'd been sitting quietly throughout, but now stood. Naruto-kun and I have discussed this extensively. We're both committed to maintaining healthy dynamics regardless of the bond's influence. And you, Naruto? Kurenai asked. I accept the conditions too. If professional oversight helps us navigate the bond better, I'm all for it. The committee members exchanged glances. Then Shikaku spoke. I move to approve the bond completion with the conditions outlined by Inoichi. All in favor. Hiashi, Inoichi, Shikaku, and Kurenai all raised their hands. Tsunade abstained as planned, but 4 out of 4 voting members were unanimous in their approval. The motion passes, Tsunade announced formally. Hinata Hyuga and Naruto Uzumaki are approved for deliberate bond completion, subject to 1 year of mandatory counseling. Through his partial bond with Hinata, Naruto felt her explosion of joy and relief. 6 months of courtship, evaluations, and uncertainty had led to this moment. But before they could celebrate, one of the civilian council members stood. I have a question. What happens if this bond goes wrong? If the power dynamics become abusive or if Hinata loses her autonomy? What recourse does she have? It was a fair question that made the room go silent. The framework includes protocols for managing unhealthy bonds, Tsunade said carefully. Physical separation, intensive therapy, in extreme cases we could explore chakra suppression techniques. But the bond itself is permanent, correct? Once formed, it never breaks. Correct. Then we're essentially approving a permanent, unbreakable connection based on 6 months of courtship and some psychological evaluations. That seems risky. All relationships carry risk, Kurenai interjected. Marriage is theoretically permanent too, though it can be dissolved. The bond is similar, ideally permanent, but with safety measures if things go wrong. Except marriage doesn't involve chakra rewiring someone's brain, the councilwoman countered. This is fundamentally different. The debate continued, with various observers weighing in. Some supported the approval, seeing it as a natural evolution of the bond framework. Others expressed concern about normalizing permanent chakra bonds, even with safeguards. Finally, Tsunade called for order. The Oversight Committee has made its decision. Observers may disagree, but that's why we have a committee to make these difficult calls. Unless someone has concrete evidence that this bond would be harmful, the approval stands. No one offered such evidence. The meeting adjourned with the bond completion approved, but Naruto could feel the tension. This decision had created ripples that would spread far beyond just him and Hinata. The bond completion ceremony was scheduled for 1 week later, giving both parties time to prepare mentally and emotionally. But 3 days before the ceremony, everything changed. Naruto was in the training grounds, working on a new seal technique, when he felt a massive chakra surge through his bond with Mei. Not pain this time, but shock and alarm. He reached out through their connection. Mei. What's wrong? Their mental voice came back immediately, strained but controlled. Summit's been moved up. Emergency session. All 5 Kage are being summoned to the Land of Iron in 2 weeks. What happened? Fumagakure discovered the Crimson Seal's capabilities. Their spies reported on your bonds, the framework, everything. The Raikage is demanding immediate international oversight before you bond with anyone else. He's calling you a threat to inter-village stability. Naruto felt his stomach drop. This was the political backlash Mei had warned about, arriving faster and harder than anyone expected. What should I do? Come to the summit. You'll need to defend yourself, explain the seal, and demonstrate it's not a weapon. And Naruto. Bring Tsunade and at least 1 other bonded individual. The Kage will want to see the bond's effects firsthand. After the connection faded, Naruto immediately sought out Tsunade. He found her in her office, already aware she'd received the formal summons 10 minutes earlier. "This is bad," she said without preamble. "The Raikage is using your seal as a pretext to challenge Konoha's growing influence. If we handle this wrong, we could end up with sanctions or worse." "What's worse?" "I'm demanding you be sealed, imprisoned, or executed as a threat." Tsunade's voice was flat. As paranoid about anything that could compromise his shinobi's loyalty. "Your seal represents his worst nightmare. So what do? We go to the summit, we present the framework transparently, and we demonstrate that the bonds don't create mindless servants." Tsunade paused. "Which means you're going to need to bring bonded individuals who can testify to their autonomy." "Mei's already planning to be there as the Mizukage." "Who else?" "Kurenai. She's articulate, respected, and can speak to maintaining her judgment despite the bond. Maybe Amaya too, she can testify to choosing the bond voluntarily despite her history as a missing nin." "What about the bond with Hinata? Should we postpone?" Tsunade considered. "No. Complete it as scheduled. It'll actually help your case, showing that bonds can form through proper courtship and evaluation, not just accidents. It demonstrates responsibility and control." The next 3 days were chaotic. Naruto coordinated with Mei about summit logistics while continuing his preparations for Hinata's bond. The village buzzed with news of the emergency summit, and speculation about what it meant for Naruto ran wild. The support group held an emergency meeting to discuss the implications. The room was packed, not just regular members, but anyone who'd been affected by the seal, however slightly. "They're going to try to restrict you," Anko said bluntly. "Maybe demand you be sealed or monitored by international observers. Are you prepared for that?" "I'm prepared to defend the framework and prove the bonds aren't harmful," Naruto said. "But I'm not going to pretend I'm not nervous." "You shouldn't go alone," Sakura said. "You need support. People who can testify that the bonds haven't turned us into slaves or mindless followers." "Tsunade's already arranging that. Kurenai and Amaya will come to the summit." "That's not enough," Ino interjected. "You need multiple perspectives. Someone with a complete bond, someone with a partial bond, someone who's been minimally affected. Show the range of how the seal works." "Ino's right," Kurenai agreed. "I'll speak for complete bonds. But you should bring someone with a strong partial bond to someone who can testify to maintaining autonomy while still affected." "I'll do it," Hinata said quietly. "If the committee approves our bond completion before the summit, I can speak to both experiences, partial and complete. Show the progression." "That's asking a lot," Naruto said. "The summit will be intense. Hostile, even. I'm the Hyuga heiress. I'm used to hostile political situations." Hinata's lavender eyes were determined. "And this matters, Naruto-kun. What happens at this summit will affect every bond you form going forward. We need to present the strongest case possible." Through their partial bond, Naruto felt her genuine commitment. She wasn't doing this out of obligation or seal influence. She believed in defending what they'd built. "Okay," he said. "If the bond is completed before the summit, you'll come with us." The support group spent the next hour preparing testimony, anticipating hostile questions, and strategizing responses. By the end, Naruto had a clearer picture of what they'd face. The other Cage would be skeptical at best, hostile at worst. They'd question his motives, his control, his intentions. They'd demand proof that the bonds didn't compromise their shinobi's loyalty. And they'd probably push for restrictions that would make using the seal nearly impossible. "This is going to be the fight of your life," Tsunade said after the meeting. "And not the physical kind. Political combat is different, subtler but no less brutal." "I know. But I have to do this. If I don't defend the seal now, every bond I form will be seen as a threat. Just remember, you're not defending the seal's existence. You're defending your right to use it responsibly. Don't let them force you into absolutes." The bond completion ceremony with Hinata took place 2 days before the summit in the Hyuga compound sacred meditation chamber. Only close family and the oversight committee were present. Naruto had wanted to keep it private, intimate, focused on the connection rather than political implications. Hinata stood across from him, wearing formal Hyuga robes that made her look ethereal. Through their partial bond, Naruto felt her nervousness mixed with excitement. "We've come a long way," she said softly. "From academy classmates to this moment. Yeah. Never thought I'd be deliberately forming a chakra bond in a formal ceremony." Naruto managed a slight smile. "Ready?" "I am. Are you?" He considered. This would be his 6th complete bond: Tsunade, Kurenai, Kurama, Amaya, Mei, and now Hinata. Each one added weight, responsibility, and constant awareness. But each also added something valuable. "I'm ready," he confirmed. Inoichi, overseeing the ceremony as the committee's psychological expert, stepped forward. "This bond formation is deliberate, evaluated, and approved. Both parties understand its permanence and implications. Naruto, activate the Crimson Seal. Hinata, open your chakra network fully." Naruto called forth a seal, red chakra flooding through him with practiced control. His eyes shifted to their distinctive crimson pattern. Across from him, Hinata's Byakugan activated instinctively, her veins standing out as she opened her chakra network. For a moment, they just looked at each other, seeing with enhanced vision, feeling the partial bond between them waiting to complete. "On your mark," Inoichi said. Naruto reached out and took Hinata's hands. The moment they touched, the partial bond that had existed for months surged forward, completing itself with an intensity that made them both gasp. It was different from his other bonds. Tsunade's had formed in crisis, chaotic and desperate. Kurenai's had developed gradually, almost unnoticed until suddenly complete. Amaya's had snapped into place during combat. Mei's had been clinical, observed and documented. But Hinata's formed through layers of shared experience, months of building trust and compatibility. It was smooth, natural, like two rivers converging into one. Through the bond, Naruto felt everything her love that had existed since childhood, finally acknowledged. Her nervousness about their age difference and his complicated life. Her determination to be worthy of him, even though he'd never asked her to prove anything. Her hope that this bond would bring them closer without consuming their individual identities. And she felt him too, his genuine care that had grown from respect to affection. He worries about hurting her with the bond's weight. His gratitude for her patience through 6 months of courtship. His hope that they could build something real from this chakra-created foundation. The bond solidified, permanent and profound. When they released each other's hands, both were trembling slightly. "It's done," Inoichi announced. "The bond is complete. Hinata Hyuga is now fully bonded to Naruto Uzumaki." Inoichi stepped forward, his expression complex. "How do you feel, Hinata?" "I feel whole," she said, her voice wondering. "Like I've gained something instead of lost something. I can feel Naruto-kun constantly, but it's not invasive. It's comforting. And your autonomy? Your judgment? Completely intact. I can still think for myself, disagree with him, and make my own choices." She looked at Naruto. "The bond doesn't control me. It just connects us." "That's consistent with other complete bonds we've observed," Inoichi confirmed. "The connection is deep, but the bonded individual retains full cognitive function and free will." The ceremony concluded with formal acknowledgements from the Hyuga clan. As people filtered out, Naruto and Hinata found themselves alone for a moment. "So," Hinata said, a slight smile playing on her lips. "We're bonded. Permanently. For the rest of our lives." "Yeah." Having second thoughts. "Not even a little." Through the bond, he felt her absolute certainty. "This is what I wanted, Naruto-kun. What I've always wanted, even before I understood what that meant. I'm glad. Because I want you in my life too, Hinata. As a partner, a friend, whatever we become, I want this connection." She stepped closer and, for the first time since their courtship began, initiated physical contact beyond hand-holding. She hugged him, and through the bond, they felt each other's emotions amplified by the proximity. It was overwhelming and perfect and terrifying all at once. "We'll figure this out together," Hinata whispered. "The bond, the summit, everything. Together," Naruto agreed. 2 days later, a group of 5 departed Konoha for the Land of Iron. Tsunade as Hokage, Naruto as the seal's wielder, Kurenai and Hinata as bonded individuals willing to testify, and Amaya as security and additional testimony. The journey took 3 days, giving them time to prepare their presentation. Tsunade drilled them on potential questions, hostile scenarios, and diplomatic traps. By the time they reached the Land of Iron, everyone was as prepared as possible. The summit venue was a massive fortress carved into a mountain, neutral ground governed by the samurai. The other cage had already arrived, the 4th Reikage from Kumagakure. Linoki, the 3rd Tsuchikage from Iwagakure. And Gaara, the 5th Kazekage from Sunagakure. Mei, representing Kurigakure, was present in her dual role as cage and bonded individual. The summit chamber was circular, with each cage seated at equal height, their bodyguards standing behind them. Naruto's group was positioned in the center, surrounded by the 5 most powerful shinobi in the world. "Let's begin," said, his voice like thunder. "We're here to discuss Naruto Uzumaki and his Crimson Seal. A power that creates unbreakable chakra bonds, influencing emotions and loyalty. Konoha claims this isn't a threat. I disagree. The Crimson Seal does create bonds," Tsunade responded calmly. "But they don't create slaves or mindless followers. We've developed a comprehensive framework for managing them responsibly." "The framework enforced only in Konoha," shot back. "What stops Uzumaki from bonding shinobi from other villages? From creating a network of influence that undermines our security?" "I have no interest in bonding with people from other villages," Naruto said, speaking directly for the first time. "The bonds that exist form through proximity, shared experiences, or in a few cases deliberate choice with full consent." "So you claim," Linoki's aged voice was skeptical. "But how do we verify that? How do we know the so-called bonded individuals testifying today aren't being manipulated?" "Because we can prove it," Kurenai said, stepping forward. "I'm Kurenai Yuhi, instructor of Konohagakure. I've been bonded to Naruto for several months. I can demonstrate that I maintain complete autonomy despite the bond. Demonstrate how? A challenge. Ask me anything about Konoha's security, strategic plans, or confidential information. If the bond controlled me, I'd tell you without hesitation to please Naruto. But I won't because my judgment and loyalty to Konoha remain intact. I considered this, then nodded to one of his aides, who produced a scroll. We have intelligence suggesting Konoha is developing new Anbu protocols. Confirm or deny, and provide details. I refused to answer, Kurenai said immediately. That information is classified, and my bond to Naruto doesn't override my responsibility to village security. She's not lying, Lunoki said, his aged eyes sharp. I can sense no deception in her chakra signature. One test proves nothing, I said. What about the others? Hinata stepped forward next. I'm Hinata Hyuga, heiress to the Hyuga clan. My bond to Naruto was formed deliberately after 6 months of courtship and extensive psychological evaluation. The Byakugan allows me to see chakra flow with perfect clarity. I can demonstrate that the bond doesn't disrupt my cognitive or emotional functions. She activated her Byakugan, then began explaining the technical details of how the bond appeared in her chakra network as an additional connection, yes, but one that didn't interfere with existing pathways or her clan's techniques. The bond is more like adding a new sense, she explained. I can feel Naruto's emotions, know his location, sense his well-being. But my own thoughts, judgments, and loyalties remain unchanged. The Hyuga clan endorsed this bond after thorough evaluation. They wouldn't have allowed it if it compromised my autonomy. And yet you traveled here with him, I pointed out. Supporting his case rather than maintaining neutral clan interests. I'm supporting the truth, not Naruto personally, Hinata countered. If the bond did what you fear, if it created mindless loyalty, I'd be incapable of distinguishing between personal and clan interests. But I can. I'm here because the evidence supports Naruto's claims, not because the bond forces me to defend him. Ara, who had been silent throughout, finally spoke. I have a question. Naruto, you say the bonds form through proximity and shared experiences. But you're also bonded to the Mizukage, who leads a different village. How do we trust that bond won't compromise inter-village relations? Mei answered before Naruto could. Because the bond goes both ways, Kazekage. I can feel Naruto's emotions and intentions just as he feels mine. There's no deception possible between us, we'd sense it immediately. That creates trust beyond what normal diplomacy offers. Or it creates vulnerability, Lunoki countered. You're exposing your emotional state, your strategic thinking, your weaknesses to someone from another village. And he's exposing the same to me, Mei said. It's mutual vulnerability, which paradoxically creates security. Neither of us can betray the other without the other knowing immediately. That's the part that concerns us, I said. This mutual vulnerability you describe, it fundamentally changes the nature of inter-village relations. If Kage can be bonded to foreign shinobi, what happens to village autonomy? The debate continued for hours, with each Kage raising concerns and Naruto's group responding. They presented the framework, explained the safeguards, and demonstrated the bond's non-controlling nature. But underlying it all was fear of change, fear of lost control, fear of a power they didn't understand. Finally, Lunoki called for a recess. We'll reconvene tomorrow. The Kage need to discuss this privately. As Naruto's group was escorted to their quarters, Tsunade's expression was grim. Through their bond, Naruto felt her worry. That went worse than I hoped, she admitted once they were alone. As building support for restrictions. Maybe even demand that you be sealed. Can they do that? Hinata asked. Force Konoha to seal one of its shinobi. If enough Kage vote for it, Konoha would face enormous political pressure to comply. We might not have a choice. Then we need to change their minds before tomorrow's session, Naruto said. Show them something that makes the seal seem less threatening. Like what? Kurenai asked. Like its limitations. Naruto had been thinking about this during the testimony. We've been defending what the seal can do. Maybe we should emphasize what it can't do. The ways it fails, the people it doesn't affect. That could work, Tsunade said thoughtfully. If we demonstrate clear limitations, it makes the seal seem less like an unstoppable weapon. They spent the evening preparing a new approach, documenting every failed bond attempt, every person who'd resisted the seal's influence, every limitation they discovered. By morning, they had a comprehensive presentation on the Crimson Seal's weaknesses. The second session began with Naruto taking the lead. Yesterday, we focused on what the seal does. Today, I want to talk about what it doesn't do. He pulled out documentation. The seal only affects people who have neutral or positive feelings toward me. Those who genuinely hate or fear me are immune. In fact, exposure amplifies their hostility rather than creating attraction. Convenient claim, I said. How do we verify that? Test it. Bring someone who despises me and have them exposed to the seal. You'll see it doesn't create loyalty or affection. He considered, then gestured to one of his guards whose hatred for Naruto was palpable. The man had lost family during the Kyuubi attack and blamed Naruto despite understanding intellectually that it wasn't his fault. Naruto activated the Crimson Seal, directing its influence toward the guard. The man's expression immediately twisted with increased hostility, his chakra spiking with aggressive intent. "That's enough," I said quickly, pulling his guard back. "The point is made. The seal amplifies existing emotions, both positive and negative." "Exactly," Naruto confirmed. "It's not mind control. It's emotional amplification. Which means it has inherent limitations." He continued documenting other weaknesses: the capacity limit of 50 to 60 bonds, the difficulty of forming bonds with those who had strong mental disciplines, the way partial bonds could be managed or suppressed, the fact that bonded individuals retained full cognitive function and could resist or disobey if they chose. "The seal is powerful," Naruto concluded. "But it's not all powerful. It has clear limitations and weaknesses. And the framework we've developed in Konoha provides additional safeguards. We're not asking you to trust me blindly, we're asking you to recognize that this power can be managed responsibly." The mood in the chamber shifted slightly. By focusing on limitations rather than capabilities, Naruto had made the seal seem less threatening. Gaara spoke thoughtfully. "You make a compelling case. But I have a different concern. Even if the seal is managed responsibly now, what happens when you die? Can the seal be inherited? Could we end up with multiple wielders?" It was a question no one had considered. Naruto looked at Tsunade, who looked at Amaya, who shrugged. "I don't know," Naruto admitted. "The historical records don't say. Mito Uzumaki was the only other known wielder, and the seal disappeared when she died. But whether it could awaken another Uzumaki I can't say for certain." "That's a concerning unknown," Inoki observed. "One wielder is manageable. Multiple wielders, each with 50 to 60 bonds, could reshape the entire shinobi world. Which is why we need international protocols now," Mei interjected. "Before that possibility becomes reality. If we establish guidelines for managing seal wielders, how bonds can form, what oversight exists, what consequences follow misuse, we'll be prepared, regardless of how many wielders emerge." "She makes a good point," Gaara said. "And honestly, I'm more concerned about preventing future problems than punishing Naruto for a power he didn't ask for." The discussion shifted from whether Naruto should be restricted to how international protocols should work. It was progress, but delicate. One wrong word could tip opinion back toward hostility. Finally, I spoke. "I propose a compromise. We establish international guidelines for the Crimson Seal, extending Konoha's framework globally, with oversight from a multi-village committee. In exchange, Naruto Uzumaki agrees to transparency about his bonds, regular reporting to the committee, and restrictions on bonding foreign shinobi without explicit approval." "That's actually reasonable," Tsunade said carefully. Through their bond, Naruto felt her surprise. She'd expected much harsher demands. "I'd accept those terms," Naruto said. "Transparency and oversight in exchange for the right to use the seal responsibly." "Then let's draft the formal agreement," I said. "With one addition: the International Committee includes representatives from all 5 great villages, rotating leadership annually. That prevents any single village from controlling the oversight process." Over the next 2 days, they hammered out the details. The resulting agreement the Crimson Seal Accord established. The international recognition of the seal's legitimacy. Extension of Konoha's framework as global standard. The IFA Village Oversight Committee with rotating leadership. The transparency requirements for bond formation. The restrictions on bonding foreign shinobi without committee approval. The protocols for identifying and managing future seal wielders. The regular review of the accord to address emerging issues. It wasn't perfect, but it was workable. By the time they finished, Naruto had transformed from a potential threat into a managed resource, one that all 5 villages had stake in overseeing responsibly. "This is unprecedented," Inoki said as they finalized the document. "International cooperation on managing an individual's power. If it works, it could serve as a model for other complicated abilities." "If it works," I echoed. "I'm still skeptical, but I'll give this approach a chance. Uzumaki, don't make me regret this." "I won't," Naruto promised. As the summit concluded and delegations prepared to return home, Mei pulled Naruto aside for a private word. "That was well done," she said through their bond, her mental voice warm with approval. "You turned a potential disaster into a diplomatic victory." "Couldn't have done it without you and the others," Naruto responded. "The testimony made the difference." "Maybe. But you're the one who had to stand before 5Cage and defend your right to exist as you are. That took courage." She paused. "The International Committee is going to complicate your life. Be prepared for increased scrutiny." "I know. But it's worth it if it means I can use the seal without every village seeing me as a threat." "Agreed. Now come on, Tsunade's organizing a celebration dinner. We should enjoy this victory before the next crisis hits." As Naruto joined his group for the journey home, he reflected on how much had changed in such a short time. He'd gone from hiding the seal to defending it internationally. From fearing the bonds to advocating for their legitimacy. From isolation to connection with multiple people across multiple villages. The Crimson Seal had transformed his life in ways he never imagined. And with 6 complete bonds, multiple partial ones, and international oversight now in place, that transformation was